So now it's my pleasure to call my sister, the first Haitian American elected official in Rhode Island, Councilwoman Vassal 14, and now candidate for mayor of Providence, Liva.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. And thank you, everyone who is here today, all the elected officials, Hope and Change for Haiti, Councilwoman Anish Jermaine, Dr. Darlene Jermaine Hoopa, and everyone who's just here standing in solidarity with us Haitians. Thank you for your powerful words, Marcia Wrangling Vassal. You always bring to light, in such a beautiful way, the oppression that Black people and the hate that Black people have experienced in this nation and throughout the world. And thank you, Shonda, for your powerful words in talking about the refugee experience, how just across the board, the trauma that people bring with them to the borders when they're seeking asylum. So thank you, all of you. And Councilwoman, thank you for calling in. Thank you. It's really important because we live in a society too where Haitians have been ostracized, and there's all these stereotypes about Haitians. And the reality is there are many countries in America, there are many countries in the world who have benefited from Haitians funding their own liberation, from Haitians fighting for their liberations right here in the United States, for Haitians opening their doors to refugees seeking asylum when America closed theirs. So Haitians have made some significant contributions. And thank you. Thank you, Rep, for always being a partner. Thank you. So what's happening right now is nothing new. I don't know if people remember the 1980 Refugee Act, which actually stopped Haitians seeking asylum in the 1980s at sea. One of my favorite authors is Edwidge Danticat, and she wrote a book, Brother, I Am Dying, which illustrates the inequities, the injustice, the systemic oppression and racism within the immigration system. In that book, she talks about her uncle who's held in an ICE detention, and how he dies. He doesn't have access to his medication. He comes to the United States seeking asylum. And it's a combination of stories of many Haitians who came by boat, who made it to the borders, but weren't given the same treatment as Cuban refugees, amongst others. And so this issue is something that has been happening for quite some time, and it needs to stop. Haitians deserve the same asylum-seeking process as every other refugee who land on the border or walk to the border. What's so devastating about this whole situation, one, is the images that brings us way back, and two, the stories. The stories. There is a young man and his wife, his young wife. They traveled from Chile. They spoke Spanish, fluent. And many Haitians do speak Spanish, like my identity. My family is Haitian, but we're also Afro-Latinas. My grandmother was Cuban. My grandfather had family in Dominican Republic. He would travel every weekend with my grandmother to visit his family. So there are many Haitians where there are many intersectionalities within their own identity. But going back to this gentleman, he traveled with his baby and his wife by foot and bus, mostly by foot, to the border, to Del Rio, Texas, by foot with a baby. He left Haiti years ago, and he talked about he had a job. He left everything because he also wanted to escape racism that he was experiencing there. And to be treated in such deplorable conditions, worse than animals. Someone will go to jail if you hurt an animal. If someone witnesses you hitting an animal in the street, a dog, you will go to jail. And yet we're watching humans treating other humans worse than animals. It's deplorable. And then we're using a policy to prevent the spread of COVID, yet you're dropping people off who have not been vaccinated, possibly, to a country where they were one of the last, and they still don't have enough vaccinations for the Haitian people after they're trying to recover from yet another natural disaster and political unrest. How just is that? Not only is human right, but it's common sense. It's common sense. You know, I've been thinking about all of this because that could have easily been me. I was undocumented. Because of poor immigration policies, my parents had to leave me behind during the fall of a dictatorship. My grandfather, the one I spoke about who would, travel to the Dominican Republic, he was murdered. And I remember as a kid, when we stood in front of City Hall demanding for the United States to send Aristide back to Haiti. Now I'm here demanding for the United States to protect asylum seekers. Now at the State House. I'm tired. I am tired. I am so tired and frustrated by this. Haitians come to this country, they work their tail off. My father is 73 years old, and he's a CNA. He takes care of our elderly. His clients are white. He washes them. He cleans them if they have an accident. He goes to the grocery store. He picks up their medicine. He takes care of elderly Americans right here in the United States. And yet, and there's so many Haitians who do that, who also educate our children, our doctors, our elected officials, have organizations that serve our community. And this is how you're treating them. We shouldn't have to stand here and tell our leaders to create a policy that will treat people with dignity and respect. This is shameful. Not only do we need to address this, but we also need to create immigration fair and equitable and just immigration policies that apply to every single immigrants, refugee, migrants, asylum seekers. You can't treat one group differently from another. So what I'm asking is that our congressional or our federal delegates to speak up, but also take action. Because I saw some of the tweets and, words, but take action. And for the Biden administration to not come to Haitians for our vote, but to actually work to protect Haitians who fought in the Revolutionary War to ensure that America gained their own independence. So I thank all of you for being here, but write letters, mobilize your community, and continue to push for better, more equitable immigration policies that apply to all people. And what we could do now is stop deporting Haitians. You're literally sending people into far worse conditions because people are getting there, they have nowhere to go. So now you're like even more destabilizing the country. That is literally, what's the word I'm looking for? What'd you say? What'd you say?
Insane.
It's insane, but just, they're bursting at the seams and just like, they don't have the resources. They just don't. So you're sending people to die, basically. It's unjust, it's horrific. And so continuing to advocate, write letters, call people in, call our federal delegates, and write letters to the president, but this has to stop. This has been going on for so long, and I'm tired. I'm very tired. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Vassal. This will conclude our press conference. One thing I would like to add, I am also a member of National Haitian American Elected Official Networks, NEAN. We have been asked for the administration. So we ask the administration to live up to its promise to build back better an immigration system where people are not discriminated based on their skin color. Thank you for everyone. Thank you for supporting us, and we continue the fight. We shall overcome.